I want to welcome you to our webinar. Today we're going to be taking a look at QuickBooks Point of Sale and doing purchasing and receiving. We'll start out by taking a look at doing some purchasing. We'll look at how to get a purchase order, how to add an item to inventory, look at how you can edit and delete a purchase order. We'll also take a look at receiving. We'll look at how you can receive from a purchase order. We'll also look at how you can receive without using a purchase order. We'll take a look at making adjustments to vouchers and how you can fix mistakes in a voucher if you make them. And we'll talk about entering some billing info into those vouchers. So, getting started, I'm going to bring up my QuickBooks Point of Sale. So, with receiving, you can create yourself a purchase order by going to a purchase order list.
Thank you.
From the purchase order list, we have a purchase order number. We have the vendor. And you select who you're going to order merchandise from. Mine is set up so that my purchase order number shows me my vendor name and my vendor number. I can then add merchandise to this vendor, to this purchase order. I can change my order date, my ship date, and my cancel date. The order date's the date I'm placing the order. The ship date is the date I expect the vendor to ship the merchandise to me. And the cancel date is the date I want to cancel this order for if I haven't already received the merchandise before that cancel date. The cancel date does not stop you from receiving anything, but it does pop up a notice to you to let you know that your purchase order has reached or exceeded the date you set as a cancel date. You can then choose whether you're going to receive that merchandise or not. If you have more than one store, you will get the ship address and bill address up here at the top. If you are shipping it directly to a remote store, you can change the ship address to that remote store. And then when you do a store exchange, that purchase order will be sent to that remote store. They will then be able to receive the merchandise from that purchase order at the remote store. And when they do an exchange after receiving it, it will send that back to the headquarters, notifying the headquarters that that merchandise has been received. Down in the bottom left-hand corner, we have the number of items that are placed on the purchase order. We have the number of things, the quantity you've received, the unfilled percentage, and the quantity that is still due. We have a place for special instructions that may apply. You have a place to enter terms if they are not automatically entered by the vendor. You can choose to edit your terms. You can set how many days it is before these are due. And you can add your terms. In the bottom right-hand corner, we have the subtotal of the voucher. If you have discounts that you know you're receiving up front, you can enter those. Fees you know you're going to be charged up front, you can enter that. And you get the total for the voucher. To add items, we can come up here to the scan or enter items. We can click on our little drop down, and we can choose to add a new item. We can choose an item from our item list. We can enter an item number. We can scan a barcode. Or we can add a brand new item and enter a new item that we don't currently have in inventory. You'll notice that it looks a little different than a standard new item layout that you get when you're on the item list, but it still has the same information. It's just laid out in a little bit different order. And so you want to pay close attention to that. You still need a department. You need a vendor name. Something I find a little frustrating is the fact that it doesn't drop in the vendor for me automatically when I'm create a purchase order, and it's going to be from one vendor. You've got a place for your item description. You can even add a picture of the item. You've got a place for the attribute and size. You've got a place for how many you're ordering. You have the item number, UPC, alternate lookup, your regular price or your retail price, the order cost, what you're expected to pay for this item, and the average cost if you choose to enter it. You really don't need to put the average cost in when you're entering the item on a purchase order because it will calculate that for you. Unlike when you're entering it on the item list, you do want to put the average cost in. So I'm not going to add a brand new item, but I am going to go to my item list to add an item. So I'm going to go to my Find Items. I'll come down here to my Go to Item List. That'll take me to my item list. I then want to locate my vendor. So I locate my vendor. I can go over here to the dot quantity column. I can see how many items I currently have on hand and decide what I may need to order. Well, I can also see how many I have on hand in each location. So I'm going to order some more of these, and I can enter the quantity that I wish to order. When I've entered my quantities, I can say select. That's going to put them all on my purchase order. I can see my cost of each item. I can see my extended cost. I can see my retail. I can see my total extended retail. I can see my cost down here in the corner. I can see my subtotal and my total. Back over in that left-hand corner, I can say I ordered 12 different items, 36 things total. I haven't received any, and I'm 100% unfilled. I can then either save this purchase order, or I can save and print it. If I save and print it, I'm going to get something that looks kind of like that. Shows me all the items I've ordered, shows me my total for my purchase order, shows me my purchase order number, and shows me when I printed it. I now have a pending purchase order in my purchase order list. I can choose my purchase order list. I can open my list, and I can see I have a couple of purchase orders pending. I can choose which one just showed up. I can look at those items. I can see them. I can look at this in an expanded view, which shows me a list, how many items are on each purchase order, how many items are still due, how many I've received, when, or I can collapse it and I can see all the items. These are the items that just showed up. I can receive those items, and I've got two choices. One, I come over here to the dot quantity column. I can run down that column and tell how many of each item I received, or what I find easier, I can choose to select all and continue. That's going to add them all to a receiving voucher. I'd rather edit them here on the receiving voucher because I've got more room to work and it's a little less crowded. So I can see all the items I received. If I did not receive something, I can select that item and I can remove it completely from my voucher. I could also adjust the quantity if I needed to, if I got more or less than I expected to get. Anything that I adjust is going to go back to the purchase order, and it will be there as an item that was back ordered. I can come over here to my discount fee freight button, and I could add any discounts I'm going to get, any fees I'm going to be charged, or any freight that they may have charged me, and I can add that freight. I can click close, and it will add that to my total of my voucher. If I happen to have the invoice from the vendor, I can also go to billing info, and I can add in the invoice number from the vendor, as well as the bill date from the vendor, and I can verify the terms that I'm getting on this voucher, and when the items are going to be due, or payment's going to be due. I can also go to print tags, and I can print my tags. If I'm printing my tags, I want to print all tags, document quantity, and that is going to print me one tag for each item I've received. So in this case, it's going to print me 3 of each tag. So if we preview, we can see I've got 1, 2, 3. Now we get the next item, 1, 2, 3. And so I get 3 of each item. And it will print one tag for each item that I had on this receiving voucher. When I'm all done, I can save it or save and print it. If for some reason I get interrupted while I'm working on this voucher, I don't really want to save it, because once I save it, the only thing I can do to it is add billing info or fees and freight. I can't change anything that has anything to do with the items or the quantity of the items. So if I want to come back and finish working on this, I can put it on hold. That's going to show up out here on my home screen under held vouchers. It also shows up on my receiving vouchers as held voucher button down here on the bottom. I can choose that. I can see what vouchers I have on hold. That's the one I want to finish. I can unhold it, and I can complete working on that voucher. When I'm all set, again, I can save or save and print. If I save and print, I will get a printout looking something like that. It lists all the stuff that I received on the voucher. It lists my total, my freight, since I added freight, and my total for this voucher. Once I have received a voucher, it then shows up in my receiving history. In receiving history, I can locate that voucher, and I can see it. If I needed to, I could go and I could click on any one item over here. I could then print my tags again, just like I did directly from the voucher. I can add my billing info or my discount fees and freight if I didn't have them to add at the time I was creating the voucher. It's important if you're interfacing your QuickBooks point of sale with your QuickBooks accounting that you want to add that billing info, because when you add that billing info and add that invoice number and invoice date, it will send it over to your accounting so that it shows up in your accounting as a bill to be paid. If you had a voucher that you didn't receive everything on, it's still going to be in your PO list. And we can see we have one here. We can see as we look down the due list, I still have 2 of these due to come in. If I tell it I want to receive that, and I say receive items, that's the only thing that's going to show up. None of the other stuff shows up, just the items I haven't yet received. Again, I can select them all and continue. It'll take me to my voucher. I can save it, or I can save and print it. Now I have no pending purchase orders because I've received them all. And that is purchasing and receiving. Any questions on any of those? No questions? All right. Well, this webinar is recorded, so you can go to our YouTube site. You'll be able to review this webinar and other webinars we've recorded. You can also drop an email to us here at Big Hairy Dog, or you can drop one to me at Darrell F, DARRELLF at BigHairyDog.com. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have developed.
I have a question.
Yes.
When I finish to importing the information and I have everything in the system, why I have a delay on scanning in the merchandise after I import it? So I import the information in Retail Pro, and then when I'm to scan the items, it doesn't let me. Have a delay from like 2 hours.
That's way too long. A few seconds would be normal, but not hours. And are you talking about on the computer that you put it in on?
When I import the information, it shows me the information right away. But I'm going to scan the items that I already import. It doesn't let me. And I have to wait like an hour and a half or 2 hours to go and receive whatever I have to receive.
Are you doing that on the computer that you imported them into, or on a different workstation?
No, I'm scanning with Foundry Logic Inventory.
The one thing you can try is after you've entered new items like that, you can try exiting out of your point of sale and going back into it, because sometimes it's just that it hasn't refreshed everywhere. And see if that doesn't make a difference. You're simply exiting and re-entering the program.
Always. So if this is not working, I will contact you.
Okay. So, any other questions?
Do you have any where I can go? Our system, we're on an 8.0. Okay.
On QuickBooks Point of Sale 8.0 or Retail Pro?
It's Retail Pro.
We do offer the same webinar for Retail Pro as well.
Okay.
And you can go on our YouTube site and search for the Big Hairy Dog channel.
Okay.
And you can find under playlist, there's a playlist for webinars. You can select that, and then you can search through there and find all the previously recorded webinars. And you can probably find one that's already been recorded for the Retail Pro 8.
Oh, excellent. Thank you.
Anything else?
That was it.
All right. Not hearing any other questions, then we'll wrap it up. Like I say, if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call, 916-368-1070, or drop us a note. You can drop us a note to tech, T-E-C-H, at BigHairyDog.com, or to Darrell F at BigHairyDog.com. And we'll be glad to get those answered for you.
Thank you so much.
All right, y'all have a great one, and we'll talk to you a little later. Bye-bye.